The needle buzzed like a hornet trapped in my skull, but it was nothing compared to the sting of that eviction notice slapping against my tattoo shop's door at dawn. I, Elias Harlan, Eli to the ink-stained ghosts who haunted my chair, had bet everything on a custom machine from Tokyo that turned out to be a counterfeit scam, draining my accounts drier than a summer sidewalk in Seattle. And now, as the rain hammered the awning of ink and shadow like it was auditioning for the apocalypse, in walked Jasper Whittaker, all silk ties and wedding veil grace, his smile sharp enough to cut through my denial. Looks like we're roommates now, neighbor. Half this space is mine starting Monday. I slammed the notice down on the scarred oak counter, the paper curling at the edges from the humidity that never quit in this city. My hands, calloused from years of tracing stories into skin, trembled, not from fear, but from the fury of a man who'd clawed his way from foster homes in Tacoma to owning this sliver of Pike Place chaos, only to watch it slip because I'd trusted a faceless supplier with a too good pitch. Jasper leaned against the doorframe, his olive-toned arms crossed over a crisp button-down that smelled faintly of lavender and fresh-pressed linens, his dark curls catching the dim neon glow from my sign. He was 28, if the lease docs were right, with eyes like polished amber that held no pity, just that infuriating calm of someone who'd never had to fight for his square foot of earth. "You think this is funny?" I growled, my voice gravel from a night of chain-smoking camels out back, staring at the Puget Sound like it owed me answers. "This isn't some bridal boutique pop-up. This is sacred ground, tattoos, real marks that last. Not frilly dresses for girls playing house." He didn't flinch, just tilted his head, a lock of hair falling boyishly over his forehead, and for a split second I hated how it made my chest tighten, how his presence filled the room like steam from a too-hot shower, blurring the lines I'd drawn so carefully around my life. By Tuesday, the air in ink and shadow reeked of compromise. A toxic blend of antiseptic ink and the citrus polish Jasper wielded like a weapon on his half of the divided space. I'd spent the weekend fortifying my side with black velvet curtains from a surplus store in Capitol Hill, but they did little to muffle the chime of his brass bell or the rustle of tool samples spilling over like invasive kudzu. Seattle's fog clung to the windows that morning, turning the world outside into a watercolor smear, and I nursed a black coffee strong enough to strip varnish, sketching a new flash sheet of ravens in flight to steady my nerves. The shop had been my anchor since I was 22, fresh out of a dead-end mechanic gig, when old Mr. Kowalski handed me the keys with a wink and a "make it yours, kid, before the rain washes us all away." Now at 32, with scars from bad breakups and worse choices etched deeper than any client's regret, sharing it felt like carving out my own heart. Jasper arrived at 9 sharp, hauling in garment racks on a dolly that squeaked like a wounded animal. He was dressed down for once, no tie, just a fitted gray Henley that hugged his lean frame, sleeves rolled to reveal forearms dusted with fine dark hair and a single silver bracelet that caught the light like a secret. "Morning, Eli," he said, his voice smooth as the craft whiskey at the dive bars down on First Avenue, laced with that East Coast lilt he'd picked up from summers in Boston, or so the small talk over lease signings had revealed. "Brought bagels from that spot on Post Alley. Figured we could start civil." He held out a paper sack, steam rising from the poppy seed warmth inside, and damn if it didn't smell like home I never had. I grunted, waving it off, my tattoo gun already humming on the counter like a loyal dog. "Save the peace offerings. Just keep your veils from shedding on my floor." But as he unpacked, humming some indie folk tune under his breath, something about lost lovers and tidal pulls, I caught myself watching the way his fingers danced over the fabrics, precise and reverent, like he was handling souls instead of silk. Jasper Whittaker, bridal stylist extraordinaire, had fled a high-end salon in New York after a messy fallout with a partner who'd mistaken his ambition for betrayal. That's what the mutual realtor had whispered over beers at the Pike Brewing Company, eyes darting like she'd spilled state secrets. Now here he was, eyeshadow from a bridal expo still faintly smudged under one lid, turning my gritty haven into a fairy tale annex. The first client of the day was a burly longshoreman named Grady, fresh off a shift at the docks, his arms like knotted ropes wanting a compass rose to guide him home to his wife in Ballard. I lost myself in the lines, the buzz of meditation that drowned out the world, but midway through shading the petals, a gasp cut the air. Jasper stood at the curtain's edge, a half-finished veil draped over his shoulder, his face pale as the lace. "That's..." Exquisite, he murmured, stepping closer despite my glare. Grady chuckled, flexing for effect. Means I'm getting old, Jazz. Eli, here's the wizard. Jasper's gaze flicked to mine, holding a beat too long, and in that amber depths, I saw not judgment but a flicker of envy, like he wished someone would mark him permanent too. By noon the divide cracked further. A bride-to-be wandered in from the market, mistaking my shop for his setup, her laughter bubbling like the fountain at the market's heart. Jasper swooped in, all charm and measuring tape, but she spotted my flash sheets and lit up. "Oh, could you ink a tiny heart here?" she asked, tapping her wrist. I hesitated. Brides weren't my demo, but Jasper nodded, his smile conspiratorial. "Go on, Eli. Make her day." So I did, a delicate outline blooming under her skin while he pinned her veil, our hands brushing once in the chaos, electric as a storm wire. She left beaming, slipping us both a tip in an envelope scented with roses, and for the first time, the shop felt less like a battlefield and more like a bridge. That night, as the rain sheeted down and the streets emptied, I locked up alone, Jasper lingering to steam a gown that whispered against the walls like ghosts. "You know," he called from his side, voice soft through the curtain. "I get it. This place, it's you. Raw, unapologetic. Like the ink you pour into people." I paused at the door, key in hand, the weight of his words settling heavy in my chest. "And yours?" I shot back, not turning. A pause then. "It's hope, Eli. The kind that doesn't fade." I stepped into the downpour without reply, but his words trailed me home to my cramped apartment above a laundromat in Fremont, where the hum of dryers mocked my solitude. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with needles and lace, and in the haze Jasper's face, closer than it should be. Wednesday brought the flood, literal and otherwise. Seattle's skies unleashed a torrent that turned Pike Place into a river, and my morning client canceled, leaving me to fiddle with inventory while thunder rattled the skylight. Jasper's side buzzed with energy. He'd booked a consultation with a nervous groom from Bellevue, the kind of clean-cut guy in chinos who blushed at the sight of taffeta. I eavesdropped despite myself, the curtain no barrier to his easy rapport. "Weddings aren't about perfection," Jasper was saying, his tone like a bomb. "They're about showing up, scars and all." The groom laughed, tension easing, and I wondered what scars Jasper hid under that polished exterior. The ex who'd shattered him, perhaps, or the family back in Providence who'd never understood his flair. Curiosity won. I parted the curtain an inch just to see. There he was, kneeling to adjust a cummerbund, his shirt riding up to reveal a tattoo peeking from his waistband. A delicate script I'd missed before. "Rise." My breath caught. Hypocrite, I'd called him in my head. But there it was, proof he understood permanence better than I'd given credit. He glanced up, catching my stare, and his eyes crinkled with that secret smile. "Spying, Harlan?" The groom chuckled and left with a swag bag of samples, but Jasper didn't rise right away. Instead, he straightened slowly, closing the distance until the curtain billowed between us like a veil of its own. "Your work," he said, nodding to the flash on my wall, a phoenix mid-flame. "It's poetry without words." I shrugged, heat creeping up my neck. "Just lines. Stories people want told." But he stepped through uninvited, his presence filling my space with that lavender scent, close enough I could count the flecks of gold in his irises. "Then tell me one," he challenged, voice low, the rain a symphony outside. My pulse thrummed like the gun in my drawer, and before I could deflect, I grabbed a spare sketchpad, roughing out a quick design. A ship in storm-tossed waves, sails torn but defiant. He watched, silent, then traced the page with a fingertip, sending sparks up my arm. "That's us," he whispered. "Sunk before we sail." The air thickened, charged, and I pulled back, muttering about lunch, but the seed was planted, deep, insistent like ink under skin. The afternoon dragged with walk-ins. A college kid from UW wanting a sleeve of cherry blossoms, her story spilling about a lost love in the quad. I inked while Jasper hovered nearby, offering fabric swatches for color inspiration, and by the end she'd booked him for her maid of honor's dress. "You two are a team," she said, paying double, and I couldn't deny the rhythm we'd fallen into, his grace softening my edges, my grit grounding his dreams. But as closing neared, my phone buzzed. A text from my ex, Connor. The bartender from the Lock and Keel who'd left me for a tourist with a trust fund. Heard you're shacking up with a pretty boy. Careful, Eli, fairy tales end bloody. Rage boiled, but worse was the doubt it stirred. The old wounds reopening like poorly healed lines. I confronted Jasper over takeout pho from the Vietnamese spot on Yesler. Steamy bowls on the counter, steam fogging our faces like confessions. Ever had your heart inked over someone else's mess? I asked, chopsticks hovering. He paused, broth dripping, then nodded slow. My ex Theo, he designed my rise tat. Said it was for us. Turned out it was just his way out. His voice cracked just once, and in that fracture, I saw the man beneath the stylist. Vulnerable, fierce, beautifully broken. We talked till the rain eased to mist, stories weaving like threads. My foster kid drifts through group homes in the sound shadow. His closeted years in a conservative Rhode Island clan. By midnight, the shop was ours again, shared not divided. And as he brushed my shoulder leaving, the touch lingered, a promise of tempests to come. Thursday dawned with a deceptive sun, gilding the market stalls in false gold. But by 10 the clouds regrouped, spitting drizzle that slicked the cobblestones. Ink and shadow hummed with tentative harmony. Jasper had strung fairy lights along his racks, soft twinkling orbs that cast my work in ethereal glow, making the ravens on the wall look like they might take flight. I grumbled about the whimsy, but secretly, it warmed the chill I'd carried since Connor's text. A reminder that light could pierce even Seattle's perpetual gray. My first slot was a repeat, Lena from the Fishmongers, adding to her sleeve of nautical stars, each one a child she'd outlived in the opioid haze of the 90s. You're healing me, Eli, she said, tears mixing with the aftercare lotion, and I swallowed hard, always undone by the trust. Jasper peeked over mid-session, a velvet bow in hand. That one's for the win, he murmured, then vanished to prep for a rush of fittings, a bachelorette party from Portland, all giggles and champagne flutes smuggled in thermoses. The shop transformed. Laughter echoing off the exposed brick, fabrics swirling like colorful storms, my steady buzzed the bass line to their soprano. One of the bridesmaids, a fiery redhead named Riley, cornered me during a break. So you and Jazz spill. He lights up when he mentions your ink. I laughed it off, cheeks burning, but her words stuck like burrs, pulling at the threads of denial I'd woven tight. Lunch was improvised. Sandwiches from Le Panier, crusty baguettes stuffed with prosciutto that Jasper insisted paired with my black coffee. We ate on the back stoop, overlooking the alley where dumpsters overflowed with yesterday's dreams, the sound's distant murmur a lullaby. Why bridal? I asked, tearing at the bread. He leaned back, legs stretched, his boot nudging mine accidental on purpose. Grew up watching my sister elope in a thrift store find. Made me believe in second chances, you know? The redo after the ruin. His eyes distant, tracing the horizon where fairies cut white wakes. I shared a sliver then, about my mom, gone too young to cancer, leaving me with a Polaroid of her laughing at a county fair in Puyallup, the only proof love could be real. Tattoos are my Polaroids, I admitted, voice rough. Permanent snapshots. He reached then, thumb brushing a crumb from my lip, the touch feather light but seismic, sending my heart into double time. You're more than snapshots, Eli. You're the whole damn album. The moment stretched, rain pattering soft applause, until a client's horn blared from the street, shattering it. But the spark lingered, igniting small fires throughout the day. His hand steadying my elbow when I tripped over a bolt of chiffon, my sketch of a lace-patterned mandala for his mood board. By evening, the bachelorettes had commandeered the space for an impromptu toast, toasting to unlikely duos. Their glasses clinking like wind chimes, and Jasper caught my eye across the chaos, his gaze a vow unspoken. Friday fractured the fragile peace. I'd booked a heavy piece. A fullback koi for a veteran named Marcus, his story carved in PTSD tremors that made the lines dance under my needle. Jasper respected the quiet, working silently on alterations, but midway his phone erupted. A call from Theo, the ex, voice tinny and slurred through the speaker he'd forgotten to mute. Jazz baby, I'm in town. That tat's mine, come erase it with me. The shop froze. Marcus's jaw tightened, my hand stilled on the gun. Jasper snatched the phone, ending it abrupt, but the damage bloomed. His face ashen, hands shaking as he fled to the back room. I finished Marcus quick, The coy fierce in its ascent, then followed. Jasper sat on a stool amid pinned dresses, head in hands, the rise tat visible where his shirt gaped. He always does this, he whispered when I knocked soft. Shows up like a ghost, promising fixes that fester. I knelt unthinking, my palm on his knee, solid warm through denim. Then let him haunt someone else. You're not his canvas anymore. He looked up, tears unshed, amber eyes fracturing light, and pulled me closer, forehead to mine, breaths mingling in the dim. What if I'm afraid of blank skin? The vulnerability cracked me open, and I kissed him then, not fierce but tender, lips brushing like preliminary lines on fresh parchment. He tasted of salt and citrus, responding with a sigh that undid me, hands fisting my shirt as the world narrowed to us. We broke apart at a client's knock, flushed and fumbling, but the kiss rewired everything. The rest of the shift blurred. Stolen glances over the curtain, his fingers grazing mine when passing tools, the air thick with what-ifs. Closing brought confession time, rain lashing windows like judgment. That wasn't pity, I said, locking the door. That was me seeing you. He smiled, tentative, tracing my jaw. Good. Because I'm seeing you too, Eli, all the shadows you hide. We walked out together, umbrellas forgotten, shoulders brushing under the deluge, my apartment a beacon 3 blocks away. But as we climbed the stairs, Connor's truck idled across the street, headlights piercing the wet night like accusations. He leaned out, voice a sneer. Knew you'd slum it again. Jasper stiffened beside me, but I squared up, arm around his waist, possessive. Drive on, Con. This story's mine now. Inside, the laundromat's hum faded as we tumbled through my door, kisses turning urgent, clothes shedding like old skins. Jasper's body was a revelation. Lean muscle under smooth olive, the rise tat, a brand I traced with tongue and teeth, eliciting gasps that echoed my own unraveling. We moved slow at first, exploring like cartographers of uncharted hurt, then fervent, bodies sinking in a rhythm born of pent-up storms. Afterward, tangled in sheets threadbare as my resolve, he whispered against my neck. This scares me more than Theo ever did. I held him tighter, the city's pulse thrumming below, knowing fear was just the shadow of falling. Saturday swelled with promise, the market alive with tourists bartering for smoked salmon and lavender sachets. Ink and shadow overflowed. My chair booked solid with flash pieces for a convention crowd, Jasper's racks besieged by last-minute proposals turned engagements. We stole moments, a quick coffee run to Storyville, his hand in my back pocket casual as breathing, a shared cigarette out back, smoke curling like questions we didn't voice. But undercurrents stirred. A client of mine, an old flame named Devon, lingered too long, his eyes raking Jasper with unsubtle envy. Slumming with the dress guy? He joked, but the bar blanded, and Jasper's laugh rang hollow after. Evening brought the real test. A joint event Jasper pitched, tattoos and Tool. A pop-up for couples mixing ink vows with veil trials. The turnout stunned. Locals from Queen and to Georgetown, toasting with local IPAs from Fremont Brewing. The space alive with hybrid dreams. A groom inking his beloved's initial into a cufflink design. A bride veiling a fresh rose on her collarbone. Jasper shone, directing the flow with effortless grace, but I saw the strain. Theo's shadow in every sidelong glance, Connor's echo in my hesitations. As the night peaked, a slow song from the market's buskers drifted in, Hallelujah on violin raw and aching, and Jasper pulled me to the cleared floor space, body swaying amid fabric scraps and stencil paper. You're thinking too loud, he murmured, cheek to mine. About him? About us failing like the rest? I nodded, honest, the vulnerability a risk. Yeah, but damn if you're not worth it. His kiss was fierce then, claiming, and for a breath the world was just us, two men remaking a space, a life from the ruins. Yet as the last guests filtered out, my phone lit with a voicemail from an unknown number. Theo's voice, oily and insistent. Tell Jazz I'm waiting at the hotel on Stewart. With proof he owes me. The night soured, Jasper's face paling as I played it, and in that moment, the fall-eyed embrace teetered on betrayal's edge. Sunday in Seattle was for sinners and stragglers, the city nursing hangovers under a sky-bruised purple. Ink and shadow stayed half-shuttered. Me catching up on sketches in the back alcove, Jasper nursing a migraine from the event's aftermath, his side strewn with thank you notes pinned like medals. The voicemail from Theo gnawed at me through breakfast, leftover croissants from Macrina, flaky and forgotten on the counter. Its words a poison seeping slow. I deleted it without telling Jasper, a coward's mercy, but guilt coiled tight as barbed wire in my gut. At 32 I'd learned silence was the tattoo that faded slowest, marking you invisible even in plain sight. He emerged mid-morning, hair tousled from fitful sleep on my lumpy couch, wearing one of my faded tees that hung loose on his frame, the hem brushing thighs I'd mapped last night. Rough night, he admitted, pouring coffee black as my mood. Theo's got a knack for timing like a bad sequel nobody asked for. I nodded, stirring sugar I didn't take, the spoon clinking accusation. Want me to handle it? One word, and he's ghosted. His laugh was brittle, eyes shadowed. Tempting. But he's my mess. Exes are like tattoos, Eli. You live with the itch till you learn to ignore it. We opened subdued, the shop's pulse lazy. A single walk-in, a shy barista from Analog wanting a constellation on her ankle, her story a whisper of stargazing breakups in Discovery Park. I inked careful, the stars winking under her skin, while Jasper sorted samples nearby, his movements mechanical. Tension thickened the air, thicker than the fog rolling in from Elliott Bay, until a delivery van honked outside. Racks from a supplier in Portland, late indented. Jasper cursed soft, wrestling them in alone, pried his armor, and I dropped the gun, crossing to help without a word. Our hands brushed on the metal, sparking memory of skin on skin, and he paused, breath hitching. Thanks, he murmured, voice raw, for not pushing. The afternoon shifted when Lena returned, not for ink but advice, her son's wedding looming, nerves frayed as old sails. Jasper took lead, draping her in a sample gown that transformed her from weathered fisher to radiant matriarch, while I added a quick flourish, a tiny anchor cuff for the groom's sleeve. See, Jasper said, pinning the last seam. Family's what you build, not born into. She hugged us both, tears fresh, slipping out with a promise of salmon fresh from the docks. In her wake, the shop breathed easier, and Jasper turned to me, tentative. That felt good. Real. I pulled him close then. Kiss salt-tinged from unspoken fears, bodies aligning like puzzle edges worn smooth. But peace was fleeting. As dusk bled the sky crimson, Connor sauntered in uninvited, his frame filling the door like a storm front. Heard about your little soiree, he drawled, eyes on Jasper's retreating back. Fancy. But we both know you tire of the glitter, Eli. Rage flared, hot and immediate. I shoved him against the counter, the impact rattling ink bottles. Get out. This isn't your harbor anymore. He smirked, shoving back. Ask your boy about the money he owes Theo. Bridal world's cutthroat. Bet he dragged you into it for the rent. The lie landed like a gut punch, doubt blooming despite my scoff, and Connor left laughing, the bells chime a mocking farewell. Jasper emerged from the fitting room, face questioning. Ex-drama. I nodded, evasive, the seed of mistrust taking root. We closed early, wandering to the waterfront, hands linked against the chill, watching container ships ghost in from Asia. Tell me something true, he said, head on my shoulder, the Ferris wheel's lights wheeling lazy in the harbor. I hesitated, then spilled. The Foster scars, the night I ran from a home that burned down with secrets, landing in Seattle broke but breathing. He listened, fingers tracing my knuckles, then shared his own. Theo's betrayal, not just emotional but financial. A shared salon embezzled. Jasper left holding debts that chased him west. That's why the lease here, he confessed. Fresh start. But if it's tainting us. It's not. I lied, Connor's words festering. That night, back in my apartment, lovemaking turned desperate. Bodies crashing like waves on the jetties. Fears seeking anchor in each other. He arched under me. Gasps mingling with rain on the roof. The rise tad a beacon in the dark. But dawn brought clarity's cruel light. A bank alert on my phone. An unexplained withdrawal from the shop's joint account. Time-stamped to Jasper's card. Heart hammering, I confronted him over cold cereal. Voice steady as I could manage. Theo's bluff? Or something else? He paled, denial crumbling. It's nothing, old debt payoff. I didn't touch ours. But the numbers lied, or so doubt whispered, and the fracture widened, trust's ink bleeding out. Monday roared back with vengeance, the market's bustle a cacophony masking our rift. Clients buffered the awkwardness. My steady stream of flash art for spring breakers, Jasper's consultations laced with forced cheer. We moved like planets in wary orbit, brushes accidental but charged, words clipped. Midday, a couple from Bainbridge arrived. High school sweethearts renewing vows, wanting matching tattoos and a veil refresh. The shop became their stage. I inked interlocking gears on their forearms, symbols of machinery mended, while Jasper veiled the bride in gossamer that caught the light like hope reborn. They watched us, the wife whispering to her husband, "You two get it, the work behind the beauty." Their gratitude, a bottle of Pinot from Columbia Valley, shared after hours, eased the strain but only surface deep. As we sipped on the stoop, stars pricking the clearing sky, Jasper broke first. The withdrawal? It was for Theo, final buyout to end the calls. I meant to tell you but fear choked it. Vulnerability stripped him bare. And shame flooded me for doubting. Connor's poison, I admitted, clinking glasses. But you're the antidote. The kiss that followed was reclamation, slow and deep, leading us upstairs where touches mapped forgiveness, bodies whispering truths words couldn't. Yet Tuesday's tide turned treacherous. A letter arrived via courier legal crisp, from Theo's attorney, demanding Jasper vacate the lease for breach of prior agreements. My stomach knotted reading it aloud, Jasper's face draining to chalk. "He found out about us," he said, voice hollow. "This is payback." Fury ignited. I crumpled the paper, vowing, "We'll fight. Together." But as we huddled over strategies, calling our realtor, scouting free legal aid at the Harbor's Community Center, Connor texted again. A photo of Jasper and Theo, arms linked in some old gala shot, captioned "Birds of a Feather." The jealousy was juvenile but it stung, amplifying the storm. Evening brought solace in motion. A walk to Gasworks Park, the old gasification plant skeleton silhouetted against the sunset, wildflowers nodding in the breeze off Lake Union. Jasper leaned into me, confessions flowing like the water below. "I fell for you fast, Eli, your hands, your quiet fire. Scary fast." I stopped, turning him to face the city lights twinkling like distant ink points. "Same. But fear's just the frame. Love's the picture." We made promises there, sealed with salt-laced kisses, oblivious to the figure watching from the shadows. Devin, my old client, phone in hand, snapping pics for God's knew what vendetta. Wednesday's dawn cracked with confrontation. Devin posted the shots online. A local artist forum. Ink and Lace, Seattle's odd couple? Tags exploding with speculation. Some supportive, others venomous barbs about selling out grit for glitter. The shop's phone rang off the hook. Curious clients, homophobic trolls, a reporter from The Stranger sniffing for a feature. Jasper fielded calls with poise, but I saw the toll. His smiles brittle, hands trembling on hems. "They're us versus the world now," I said, barricading the door for a lunch break, pulling him into my lap on the worn leather chair. "And we win by showing up." He straddled me then, kisses fierce as the headlines, hands roaming with defiant need. We made love there, amid the buzz of silenced phones, bodies a bulwark against the noise, slow grinds turning urgent, his moans muffled against my neck, my name a mantra on his lips. Release came shuddering, leaving us spent and sated, foreheads pressed in the afterglow. "This is real," he panted. "No matter what they say." But as we dressed, another alert. Theo in town, checking into the same hotel as the letter's origin, with Devin spotted at the bar, collusion's ugly face. Thursday's rain fell in biblical sheets, turning Pike Place into a sluice of umbrellas and regrets, mirroring the deluge in my soul. The online storm had ebbed to embers, supporters outweighing haters 3-1, with a viral thread of couples sharing their tattoos and tool stories. But the personal toll lingered like humidity in bones. Jasper moved through his fittings like a ghost in silk, his laughter for clients a mask cracking at the seams, and I caught him staring at the legal letter taped to his mirror, fingers twitching as if to tear it free. At 32, I'd inked enough despair to recognize it, the slow bleed of hope when betrayal circles like sharks. My morning was a gauntlet of skeptics, a walk-in dad with a teen son, eyeing Jasper's side with disdain, demanding no fairy dust on his tribal band. I complied, lines bold and unyielding, but the boy's gaze darted to the veils, curious, and post-session he whispered, Can I get a rainbow subtle like? For pride. Pride swelled fierce. I sketched a spectrum woven into thorns, inking it hidden on his ribcage while Jasper distracted the father with bowtie samples. The kid left lighter, slipping us a fist bump and a thanks for being you. A bomb against the barbs. Lunch was silent solidarity. Fish and chips from Ivor's greasy wrappers on the counter, the sound salt tang cutting the air. Theo texted, Jasper said finally, scrolling his phone with thumbnail bitten raw. Wants a meet. For old times. My fork paused midair, cod flaking forgotten. Don't. He's poison ivy, Jazz. Touch once it itches forever. He nodded, but doubt shadowed his eyes, and I wondered if the pull of shared history was stronger than our nascent bond. We cleaned up wordless, the divide reforming like scar tissue, until a delivery lightened the load. Custom ink cartridges from a Portland supplier, and bolts of Duchesse satin for him, gifts from grateful eventgoers. Afternoon brought the reporter from the stranger, a wiry woman named Kira with a notebook tattooed on her forearm, my work from last year. She interviewed us tandem, perched on a stool amid hybrid chaos, her questions probing gentle. How's grit meet grace here? Jasper fielded with eloquence, painting our partnership as remaking love's wardrobe, thread by permanent thread, while I grunted truths about vulnerability's sting. The piece, she promised, would run Friday, Seattle's queer renaissance in a shop window. As she left, Kira squeezed my arm. Hold him close, Eli. Men's like you don't come often. Her words haunted, a prophecy I clung to as closing neared. But fate, that cruel stylist, had other hems. Connor burst in at 6, reeking of stale ale, eyes wild. Saw the pics, Eli, Devin's got more. You and the stylist all over the net. Thought you'd learn from me. He lunged clumsy, fist glancing my jaw before Jasper tackled him from behind. Wiry strength surprising. Out. Jasper snarled, voice steel, shoving him toward the door as I wiped blood from my lip. Connor staggered, spitting venom. He's using you. Theo says the debts are yours now, joint lease bullshit. The lie propelled me forward, tackling him proper, punches landing thudding until sirens wailed distant, scattering him into the rain. Police statements dragged till 9, the shop cordoned in yellow tape that fluttered mocking. Jasper iced my knuckles in the back, his touch tender despite the tremor in his hands. You fought for us, he whispered, lips brushing the bruise. Heat flared, need overriding ache. I pulled him down onto the fitting platform, fabrics cushioning our fall, kisses tasting copper and salt. We undressed frantic, his body arching into mine, olive skin glowing under fluorescent, the rise tat a phoenix under my palms. Lovemaking was catharsis. Deep thrusts chasing shadows, his nails raking my back like new lines, cries blending with the storm's roar. Climax shattered us, leaving whispers in the wreck. I choose you, Eli. Every time. Friday's edition hit stands at dawn. The strangers cover a split shot. My needle-piercing skin, Jasper's hands veiling light. Headline ink and illusion. Seattle's boldest bromance? Bromance, a soft sell for what we were. But the article dove deep, humanizing our scars, our synergy. Foot traffic surged. Supporters bearing coffee from Victrola. Skeptics turned converts booking slots. Amid the whirl, Theo appeared. Unannounced, mid-afternoon, impeccably suited like a wedding crasher. He was taller than photos suggested, blonde and angular, eyes cold as Rhode Island winters. Jasper, he purred, ignoring me. We need to talk. Privately. Jasper stiffened beside a rack, scissors mid-snip. Nothing left to say. But Theo slid the legal folder across, pages rustling threat. Sign over your half. Or I drag Elias into the embezzlement suit. Partners in lease, partners in crime. My blood iced. I stepped forward, voice low thunder. Touch him, you touch me. And I don't ink pretty, I scar. Theo's laugh was silk over razor. Charming. But ask your boy about the money trail, from our salon to here. He left with a nod, the bells chime a guillotine drop, and Jasper crumbled, sliding to the floor amid lace waterfalls. I knelt, arms enveloping, his sobs muffled in my chest. It's lies, he choked. He forged it, framed me to escape clean. Rage and grief warred but love anchored. Then we prove it. Together. We spent the night digging. Old emails printed from a library computer, Bank records poured over by lamplight in my apartment, takeout tie cooling untouched. Clues emerged. Discrepancies in dates, a witness email from a former employee. Dawn found us exhausted but allied, Jasper asleep on my shoulder, curls tickling my neck. But as I watched him, phone buzzed. Devon's anonymous tip to the paper, alleging financial foul play in our shop. The news titan trust thread fraying under pressure. Saturday salvaged us with community, the forum exploding with defenses, locals organizing a support ink and lace flash mob at the market, flash tattoos and veil giveaways drawing crowds that spilled into our space. Energy crackled. A drag queen from Numos inking a fierce queen on her thigh, a straight-laced accountant veiling his proposal nerves. Jasper thrived in the chaos, directing with renewed fire, while I inked till my hands cramped, each piece a testament. Amid it, Marcus the veteran returned, coy backpiece healing proud, bearing a check for pro bono work and a gruff, "Fight dirty if you must, I've got your six." Evening peaked with the mob's crescendo, buskers playing This Must Be the Place, couples slow dancing on cobblestones outside, our window a frame for unity. Jasper and I joined, bodies swaying in the throng, his head on my chest, heartbeats sinking to the base. "We're unbreakable," he murmured, and I believed it, kissing his temple salt sweet. But as the crowd thinned, Theo's car idled curbside, Devon in passenger seat, cameras flashing like paparazzi vultures. The shot they captured, us entwined oblivious, would weaponize tomorrow's war. Sunday's hush was a deceptive truce, the market slumbering under a rare blue sky, Lake Union's sparkle mocking the murk in my veins. The photo from last night had gone viral. Not just local feeds, but national queer sites, captioned "Seattle's shop sweethearts under siege." Support poured in. DMs from allies in Portland to Provincetown. Crowdfunding for legal fees hitting 5 figures by brunch. But the bile too, trolls drudging my foster records, painting Jasper as gold-digging opportunist, Theo's narrative gaining traction via Devon's anonymous posts. At 32 I'd weathered storms, but this gale threatened to unmoor everything I'd lashed tight. Jasper rose early, brewing espresso strong as resolve, his movements a quiet storm. "We countersue," he declared over croissants, eyes fierce. "Expose the forgery, the harassment." I nodded, but doubt whispered. What if the ink of our bond ran when pressed? The shop opened to a skeleton crew of supporters, Lena minding the till, Grady hauling stock, but energy hummed defiant. My first client was the barista from before, returning for a full constellation, her pride sleeve blooming under needle as she shared coming-out tales from a conservative Everett clan. Jasper wove in, veiling a friend's rehearsal dinner gown nearby, our glances anchors in the fray. Midday brought Kira back, notebook in hand for a follow-up, her energy electric. "This is gold resilience porn for the ages." She taped us raw. Jasper's voice cracking on Theo's manipulations, my growl about chosen family over blood ties. "It's not just a shop," I said, gun pausing midline. "It's proof you can rewrite your skin, your story." The piece would drop Monday, she swore, a rallying cry. As she packed up, a courier slipped in, subpoena for Jasper, Theo's escalation, demanding shop records by noon Tuesday. The air sucked out. He clutched it white-knuckled but straightened. Let him dig. Truth's my best dress. Afternoon fractured further. Connor, sober but shattered, cornered me out back during a smoke break. "I fucked up, Eli, jealousy's a bitch. But Devon's in deep with Theo. Paid him to stir shit. Redemption's offer, too late?" I waved him off but pocketed the detail, texting our realtor for verification. Inside, Jasper caught the tail, face questing. "Ex's club." I confessed Connor's intel and relief washed him, we pieced it. Devon's grudge from a botched tattoo years back, twisted into vendetta via Theo's cash. "Puppets," Jasper spat, but his laugh held edge. "Time to cut strings." We closed for strategy. Foe again, steaming bowls fortifying as we mapped counters. Affidavits from the Portland supplier, emails chaining Devon's payments. Intimacy crept in amid the papers, his foot hooking mine under the table, leading to the back room where tension uncoiled. Kisses started soft, exploratory, turning voracious, his mouth hot on my collarbone, hands unbuttoning with purpose. I lifted him onto the counter, fabrics rustling forgotten, entering him slow, eyes locked in wordless vow. He gasped my name, legs wrapping tight, rhythm building to crescendo, release a shared sob of defiance. No one's taking this, he panted after, fingers tracing my jaw. Us. Monday's stranger hit like thunder front page spread, Siege of the Sweethearts. A queer shop stand against sabotage, with witness quotes and timeline graphics exposing Theo's web. The shop swarmed. Media from King 5, locals bearing pies from Piroshki, a city councilor promising aid. Amid it, the embezzlement suit dropped, dismissed for lack of evidence, Theo's forgery glaring under scrutiny. Jubilation crested. Jasper hooped, spinning me in a dance amid racks, laughter bubbling free. But victory soured at 4. Devon stormed in, face-modeled, Devon yelling accusations till cops, tipped by our call, cuffed him for harassment, his sobs, it was just business, echoing hollow. Theo's countermove landed evening. A public apology video on socials, crocodile tears admitting missteps, but laced with barbs. Jasper's always fled messes, and a settlement offer veiled threat. We ignored it, holing in my apartment with wine from the couple's gift. Bodies curling close on the fire escape overlooking Fremont's troll sculpture. Remember the first hook? Jasper teased, nuzzling my neck. That eviction slap. Best mistake ever. I chuckled, but confession clawed. I almost bailed when the money dipped. Doubted you. He stilled, then cupped my face. Doubt's human, Eli. Love's choosing past it. Love-making followed languid, worshipful, tongues tracing tattoos, fingers mapping freckles, union deep and unhurried, affirming in every sigh. Tuesday's noon deadline loomed. We delivered records pristine, notary stamped, to Theo's attorney downtown. A gaunt man in a tower overlooking the sound, his bluff called. He blanched at the forgery proofs, stammering concessions. Back at the shop, triumph tasted like salt fish and victory laps. Clients doubling, a waitlist for hybrid sessions snaking the block. But underglow fatigue etched us, bruises fading on my jaw, shadows under Jasper's eyes. Evening brought respite. A quiet dinner at Canlis, the city's jewel overlooking the lake, comped by a grateful patron. Candlelight danced on his curls, wine loosening tongues. Future's ours, he toasted, glass chiming. Tattoos eternal, veils that lift. Yet Wednesday whispered warnings. A letter arrived, not legal but personal, from Theo, handwritten on monogrammed stock. You win this round, Jazz. But Elias? He's temporary ink, fades when the thrill does. Mailed pre-collapse, but time to wound. It landed as we prepped for a bridal expo booth. Jasper crumpled it, but the poison seeped, manifesting in small hesitations. His hand pulling back mid-caress, eyes distant during a late-night sketch session. I confronted gentle over midnight ramen, steam veiling our faces. He's wrong. You're etched in me. He searched my eyes, then nodded, tears spilling. Promise. The kiss sealed it, leading to bed where we reclaimed fierce, forgiving bodies battling ghosts till dawn. Thursday's expo was electric. Our booth a sensation, couples queuing for vow marks. Tattoos sealed with veil ceremonies, officiated by a local drag elder. Jasper dazzled in a tailored vest, directing with flair, while I inked live demos, the buzz a heartbeat. A highlight. The barista's girlfriend, veiling her pride sleeve in a custom cape. Their kiss post-ceremony drawing cheers. Amid the whirl, Connor appeared, clean-shaven, contrite, offering testimony against Devon, his statement sealing the harassment charge. Make it right, he muttered, and I clasped his shoulder, forgiveness a line redrawn. But climax brewed unseen. Friday night, post-expo glow fading. Theo cornered Jasper at a after-party in Belltown. Slipping a drink laced with old seduction, words honeyed poison. Jasper rebuffed, fleeing to me shaken, the encounter a spark to tinder. We raced home, argument erupting. Why go alone? I demanded. Trust, he shot back. You doubted once, now this? Words escalated, hurts hurled like shrapnel, my walls his flight instincts. Culminating in slammed doors, Jasper storming to the shop's back room, me to the rain-lashed streets. Hours later, reconciliation came raw. Me returning sodden, finding him amid fabrics, face streaked. Can't lose you, I choked, pulling him close. Then don't push, he whispered, tears mingling. We collapsed together, kisses, apologies, love-making amending slow, sacred, reaffirming souls. But as sleep claimed us, my phone lit. A final missive from Theo. Check the books again. Last laughs mine. Dreadpool, the betrayal's shadow lengthening. Saturday's market pulsed with oblivious life. Stalls hawking tulips and totems under a sun that lied about closure, while ink and shadow braced for revelation. Theo's taunt burned through the night, Jasper and I rising grim to audit the books anew. Spreadsheets on the counter, coffee bitter as suspicion. Discrepancies bloomed subtle. A phantom transfer, routed through Devon's shell account, siphoning expo profits to Theo's offshore hold. He played long game, Jasper breathed, face ashen. Used Devon as proxy, framed us both. Betrayal's blade twisted deep, not just theft, but the mockery of our sanctuary, the shop we'd forged from fragile trust. Rage galvanized. We called Kira, feeding her the trail, then our attorney, filing for fraud injunction by 10. The shop opened armored, signs proclaiming Truth Inc.'s deepest. Supporters manning a petition table outside. Clients came fierce. Marcus with reinforcements from the VFW, inking solidarity sleeves. Lena's fishing crew veiling mock rooms in nets for laughs. Amid it, Jasper shone resilient, fitting a trans bride in a gown that cascaded like waterfall grace. Her tears, you made me see me, a mirror to our own remaking. I inked beside a mandala of interlocking rings for a renewing couple, each loop a loop of us, bent but unbroken. Afternoon crested confrontation. Theo arrived, flanked by suits, Devon in tow handcuffed but smirking. Audit time, Theo sneered, waving falsified docs. But our proofs trumped, timestamps irrefutable, witnesses queuing to testify. Cops swarmed, Theo's facade cracking to curses as cuffs clicked, Devon's sob. He promised shares, a pathetic coda. The arrest unfolded public. Market gawkers filming, cheers erupting as Theo was led away, his glare venom but impotent. Jasper sagged against me, relief shuddering through. It's over. I held him, whispering, we are. Evening's aftermath was catharsis. The community mob returning, bonfire in the alley legal permitted, where we burned the falsies, flames devouring lies as buskers played anthems of rise. Jasper and I danced in the glow, bodies close, his curls singed faint by sparks, my hands on his waist claiming forever. From mistake to this, he marveled, lips brushing mine. Lovemaking waited till home, the apartment a haven. Slow undressing by candlelight, touches reverent as vows. He traced my scars, I his tat, union profound. Entering him eye to eye, rhythm sinking souls, climax a quiet wave washing clean. Love you, he gasped, first time voiced, and I echoed, heart full. Sunday sealed healing. A quiet reopening, no fanfare, just us reclaiming rhythm. A client shared a story of his own betrayal. A partner who'd inked over their shared mark. And Jasper veiled him in armor soft silk, I adding a phoenix overlay, rebirth tangible. As dusk fell, we locked up side by side, walking the waterfront hand in hand, fairies cutting paths like our future open endless. What now? He asked, wind tousling us. More mistakes, I grinned. But together. He laughed, pulling me into the tide's edge, kisses salt-kissed, the sound witness to our becoming. Months blurred to seasons. Ink and shadow thrived, hybrid events a staple, our story a chapter in Seattle's queer lore. Book deals whispered but we demurred, content in the daily ink and lace. Connor faded to occasional nods at the bar, Devon to community service scrubbing our stoop. Theo's trial brought closure, 5 years restitution tripled, and Jasper's rise tat bloomed with my addition. A shadow ship beside, sails linked. We traveled light. A weekend in the San Juans, kayaking coves where seals watched indifferent, nights under stars scripting our own constellations. One autumn eve as leaves gilded Pike Place, Jasper knelt amid veils, ring in hand, platinum band etched with subtle waves. Marry the mess with me? He asked, eyes amber bright. Tears pricked. I pulled him up, kissing fierce. Yes, to every storm. Our wedding was us. Tattoo vows under market arches veiled in custom lace. Guess the tapestry of the lives we'd touched. Vows spoken raw, mine of anchors in chaos, his of grace and grit. The kiss sealed. Rain blessing soft. And in that moment, the mistake that started it all transmuted to miracle. Years on, ink and shadow stand sentinel our sons. Adopted from the system's shadows, apprenticing needles and hems, learning love's permanent weave. Betrayal's echo fades, replaced by laughter's hum, the lesson etched deep. In America's fractured heart, whether rainy Seattle streets or sun-baked Texas plains, freedom's ink is compassion's mark, self, other, the beautiful in-between. We fall hard, yes, but rise harder together.